Hello there, reason people, PoohBear here, and welcome to my channel. And today we're going to be going over a couple of devices, the A&B switch and the janitor. And as the title said, I'm going to be talking about my secret sample and hold device, which is the A&B switch. Okay, for those who don't know what an A&B switch is, hopefully most of you do know, you can obviously A&B between two audio devices, but we can also A&B between two CV devices. But there is a little bit something special about this A&B device which you can make use of. At the moment, what I've got is a random LFO going, and this is the random LFO. I've got my sample and hold actually working via this A&B switch, so now we can see me taking signals from that random LFO. And this is the rate at which I'm taking that random signal. So sample and hold, for those who don't know what sample and hold is, we're not talking about your kicks and your snares and any kind of WAV file at all. We're talking about a measurement in time. So I've got an LFO going, and then it'll be at this point, in this present time, I'm going to take this measurement. But the LFO carries on, but I'm able to hold that value and obviously do some processing with it. And then at another point in time, I'm going to say, now I'm going to take this value, and so on and so forth. I'm going to take this value, but the LFO, as you can see, is continuously going, and I'm sampling at certain points in time. Now I will admit, this sample and hold, using this for sample and hold, is not brilliant for this type of thing. I use the sample and hold really, and I will demonstrate it later on, where I can actually hold my gate data coming in from when I've played a note, and that's where I find it really useful for doing things with, and I'll show you, as I say, a couple of demonstrations with that. The issue with this type of thing is this is the gate which is actually flipping the A&B switch backwards and forth. The issue can be is when I'm actually in position A, which is reading this signal in, if this signal is going way too fast, a number of signals will pass through, and then I close it off to B, and B holds the value. So actually on the back of the rack, you can see I've only got one input, and the B input, there's nothing going into it. So with this particular A&B switch, whatever value's in A and you switch to B, it's automatically going to pump out the last value that A was pumping out. So hence, a really fast LFO can cause issues. In fact, let's just speed this LFO up a bit. So I'm just going to turn up the frequency. And you can start to see little glitches, because the gate is opening up, i.e. we're going back to B, and it's allowing that much data through before it closes. So it's a timing issue. You can obviously build it up, and you can obviously do some real fancy wiring and get this down to flip between A and B within really your 64 samples to try and tie this sort of thing down. But personally, I would use a proper sample and hold device if I was really trying to manipulate this sort of data. But as I say, we can use this and it works out quite well, especially with gate data coming in, because when I release the key, I can actually store the last value I actually put in for my gate data, and I can manipulate it. And let's actually go through a couple of these examples and see how I actually utilize that. But before we do that, I'm just going to have a quick talk about the janitor. Basically, you can see it says CV1 and CV2. These are actually the same controls, but they're two separate devices. So on the back, we have separate ins. So it's like two devices in one rack, but they do exactly the same thing. Now we have scale, and basically the scale starts at 1, and anything above a 1 is like multiplication. Anything below 1 would be like a division. So as I push it up, we'd be multiplying the signal, and as I put it down, we'd be dividing the signal. Offset, anything which is a positive, we're going to be adding to the CV signal. and anything which is negative, we're going to be taken away from the CV signal. Attack and decay, this is CV lag, and they've actually split it into, as you can see, two knobs. The attack being anything from a low value to a high value, we're going to lag the CV. So if I had 0.2 and this was 0.8, usually it'd be 0.2, and if I had a signal then which is 0.8, it would just jump up to 0.8. With the CV lag, it will actually lag it going up. And the decay is the opposite way around. It's going from a high value to a lower value. And again, just like that example, if this was 0.8, this is 0.2, normal case 0.8, 0.2 would appear, but with the lag, it will actually lag it down. Now everyone's probably experienced CV lag, but you'd know it as a different name, and that'd be on an instrument as portamento or glide, because that's effectively what you're doing. When you turn your portamento or glide up, here's your note. When you hit your next note, you're then lagging to that next note, and that is what portamento and glide are. So let's have a quick look at some of these examples. And one of the things about scale and offset, I use it a lot for, is taking a bipolar signal. Now admittedly LFO is a little bit special because it actually has a unipolar signal which will come out for the LFOs, but a lot of LFOs are just a bipolar signal, and with the use of the scale we can scale that signal down, and then with the offset we can actually push it, so we can take a bipolar signal and turn it into a unipolar signal. So let's actually just do that very, very quickly. At the moment, what we've got going on here, as you can see, this value is coming all the way down and it's going all the way up as well. So, and this is your 0 point line. And at the moment, this LFO is actually going through via sample and hold and then coming through the janitor. So if I actually bring the scale down, you'd notice that this line will start to appear more towards the middle. So now we've scaled this signal right down and we're doing our sample and hold. And then if I use the offset and push the offset, you can see we've now pushed it up above the 0 point line. So what does that really sound like, or what are we actually doing? And we can actually hear exactly what's going on, because I think that's always the best way to do things. So here is a combinator, and you'd notice inside, you should recognize this. This is obviously from part one when we built our mini mono modular. That's exactly what this is. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this data, what we've just done, and I'm going to take that and put that into the CV in, which will be the note. And then this one here is the gate, so we can obviously put that gate data in as well. And straight away you can start hearing. So this, as I say, now is being sampled in hold, and we've also scaled it down and offset it. So if I take the offset now and push that higher, we go higher up the scale. So let's bring this right down. And you can have a little bit of fun with this. Obviously we can change the tempo. And yeah, so obviously this is the random signal coming through, and it sounds not too brilliant. We can actually clean this up. It's not really for this particular project for doing this sort of stuff. So what I'm going to do is going to grab a scales and chord, and I'm just going to drop it on top of the Hamu. I'm going to turn off the chord part, because all we're interested in is actually filtering some of the notes. So just by filtering these notes, in fact I'll have that one on, let's turn them off, and that one off. So just by filtering the notes we should actually get something slightly better. and I could sort of play with this sort of thing for ages. But as you can see, this is just basically, it's changing these scales. What I'm actually going to quickly do actually is put these scales back to the way, let's put the scale back to the way it was, and let's take the offset down. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to slow it right down. Let's have a look. Let's just try something like that for the moment, and we'll have a quick look at the attack and decay, and you'll actually see it on this graph when it's going. So in fact I am going to scale it back down and offset it back up. And you can see it. You can now see we're getting a line, or sorry, a curve. It's more of a curve going on. Let's scale up a little bit more so you better see it better. But I think you get the idea of what you can really do with this sort of thing. That's not sounding too bad. Right, let's carry on and actually look at utilising the sampling whole side of things. Now at the moment, one of the biggest issues, I'm just going to delete that player device out, with this particular synthesizer is there is absolutely no velocity sensitive data. We can turn this into, and it'd be on the VCA, we can actually make it so the velocity sensitive data will actually work. So I'm actually just going to load something else. This has got nothing to do, you don't have to have this rack extension or anything, but what this is Chord Detector, and just in case people didn't know, built into the latest version there's this velocity monitor. So you can actually see when I'm playing my keyboard, if I play it really gently, there we go, that's a velocity value of 1, but it was quite loud and that's going to hit it harder, 118, and you can hear it sounds exactly the same. So we're going to actually build in some velocity sensitive data. So what we're going to need, as I say, we're going to grab ourselves an A&B switch, and what we're going to do is we're going to take the gate data and pass it through. So here's some gate data. I'm going to take that gate data and I'm going to pass it in. I'm going to take the output from this and I'm going to put it into, there's a couple of ports on the back of the VCA, and this is the linear one, so I'm going to put it into the linear one. And now we need to operate this. Now, maybe I didn't quite mention it earlier, to switch between A and B using CV is a case of, if it's, let's see if I can get this the right way around, you need a negative value for it to be A and a positive value, or 0 and above, for it to be B. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take the inverted signal and put it into the CV to control it. So when I hit a key now, I'm going to hit it quite quietly. I don't know if you heard that. It actually played. It's a little bit louder. This is actually quite a terrible keyboard I'm using, because the velocity data really does sort of jump from one to the other. What I'm going to do now is actually I'm going to increase the release, and you can sort of hear things a little bit maybe. Let's try my other keyboard. So you can definitely hear that going on. Now, you may think, why don't we use something like the Janitor and lag the gate going out? The issue is you could use that and it kind of works, but the issue is twofold. One, whenever you start changing your release time, you should also change the release time then on the lag. So that would be the equivalent of changing the decay. So when I change my release here, I should really match it with the decay as well. The second kind of issue is because if you've got a very long release, your signal could be up really high and it's lagging coming down. Then if you play a really quiet note, which happens to be starting here or something, the CV signal's still high, so it will play the volume at that level because it's still trying to lag to get to this value. And that would be the issue. And the other subtle issue is if you then got this signal coming down and we've got a release coming down, it kind of will exponentially bring that signal down even faster. The fact is this is now a constant value, whatever it happens to be, high or low. And then the release is just going to automatically come down, and obviously the VCA itself works out exactly what the volume level should be coming out of the VCA. So that's the reason why I'd use this kind of sample and hold device in this particular scenario. Now, just to throw another one out there, I've been actually talking to Murf, and I'm actually beta testing for him now, and the ADSR, there'll be a new version of the ADSR coming out which is going to be velocity sensitive, so we won't have to use this kind of workaround. It's going to be velocity sensitive itself, and when that's going to be released I don't know. In this particular setup we're looking today, I am actually using the new versions, I say, because I'm beta testing, so I had to wire things up just slightly a little bit different so I could show it exactly how your ADSR would be working. Obviously if you're watching this video in the future you may already have it anyway. So let's actually have a look at some other examples of using the A&B switch to its advantage. So in this next example we've got some audio of this kick, and we're going to take that kick and we're going to convert that via a follower and obviously kick off, let's say something like Reason drum kit. So we're going to take that and put it through a follower. So we first of all, the thing we need is obviously to bring ourselves a follow up, and the one I'm going to actually use is the BV512. So I'm just going to put that in here, hold the shift key down while I create it. Oops, let's put it down there, that's where I actually want it. And I'm going to take a parallel out and I'm just going to put it into the modulator in. I'm going to take that band out and first of all put it into the kick, and there's a good chance it's not going to work, and I should be able to mute that and hit play. We haven't got anything going on, so let's actually bring up our analyzer and see exactly what's going on. And well, it's going from 0 up to 127, so really theoretically it should be working. But let's have a look at it in raw mode. So let's put that into raw mode and let's hit reset, and that's why that value is not coming down to 0. So this line is not coming down to 0. Because it's not coming all the way down to 0, it's never going to re-trigger. So the first thing what we can do, we know a device where we can offset this data, and what we need is an A&B switch. So I'm going to put an A&B switch in here. Sorry, I don't need an A&B switch, I'm going absolutely mad, it's getting late. I need a janitor. I will use that A&B switch, so I'll bung that down there. So we're going to go from our CV out of our BV512 into our in on our janitor, out of our janitor into our analyzer, and then we're just going to bring the offset ever so slightly down, and as you can see we're now coming below that line and we're getting a kick. So there's your original kick over the top, and there's this kick here. Now at the moment, this kick isn't very powerful. And you can even see on, let's see if I can stop this on this live view here. You can see the reason why it's not very powerful. Because as it goes from the zero line, CV line, and it's going up, this is what's going to actually, the first value it reads is what it's going to actually send out as the gate information. Even though it's going, this is going all the way up. All this is ignored. When a device receives some gate information or a trigger and a value, that is what it's going to trigger it at. Even though that value goes higher, it doesn't suddenly say, oh, I'm going to increase the volume or decrease the volume if it goes down. So it could be the fact that it goes down and not all the way to zero. So the first value it hits when it's actually got a CV value, that is what it's going to send out. So it's not very powerful. But we can actually do something about that. We can actually say, we're going to boost this so we are going to get the full amount. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to need an A&B switch, but we're also going to get ourselves a CV8x4. Hey. And I'm going to put two of these values in, one there and one there. One is going to be a 0, and one of them is going to be the full amount. As I say, I'm going to probably end up getting this the wrong way round, but hey, this should work. And let's actually come down here and take this kick off here for the moment. This we're going to use to actually control the switching between the A and the B, and then the output should really go into this kick here. And as you can hear now, that is a full kick, and it didn't sound like anything like that before. And we can actually adjust the velocity sensitivity, what we're wishing to get from our piece of audio. So this is what we're capturing, converting it through. I need to make it quiet. Yeah, and we can change the velocity. Now, there's nothing stopping at this level of having yourself like a random LFO going. So this would be actually moving all the time, and rather than having this, like before, going the full scale, which we do with a normal LFO, we can obviously again use another janitor, and we can scale it down. And so the random is very small amount, and then we can decide where we want it. So we want it higher up or mid-range or whatever. So, and that's quite a good thing to do with hi-hats. So you can randomize your velocity sensitive data on your hi-hats. And I find that quite handy. But this is just quite a nice little way of using something like the CVA now, and we're now converting. Well, we're taking what this should be, which is a very low value. As soon as it triggers a little bit, we're letting the full value through. And we need the 0, because then when the gate here closes off, it goes back to a 0, which allows us to then re-trigger again. So it allows us actually to do that triggering again. Let's actually have another look at another example. So this last example I'm going to demonstrate is to do with my multi-layer stuff. Or if you're not totally aware of that, I stack up loads of different instruments, like have bass down at this end, leads at this end, and you can hear there's a drum going in the background. Now, if I was just activating it normally on my gate, take the finger off, obviously that drum pattern is restarting every time I re-trigger it. But we're able to sort of lag that and keep it going. So that means I can and so it doesn't stop and start. And then it doesn't matter if I'm doing it at the top end as well, and then we can just get something going. So let's actually sort of break this down, and I'll actually do it right from the start rather than going through what I've got set up here in the background, because there's quite a lot going on and there's a few extra things going on in this particular setup. So the first device I'm going to use is a new one I haven't shown before, and it's called a one-note stand. What this does basically, this kind of aggregates all MIDI data coming in and sends it out as single CV note data, whereas the Hamu will be splitting it down between its different gates and notes, and other MIDI devices do that. So when you play a chord, they're going out on different gates, so it means that we'll have to end up aggregating all the gates up together. But with this device, it does it for us already. So from here, I'm actually going to just go and grab myself a drum machine very quickly. Let's grab that one. So at the moment, we can obviously take the gate and put the gate straight in, and we can put the notes straight in, and we should get something. So we've got something. Now the next step would be, well, this note data, well, because I'll be playing up and down the keyboard, well, this note data is going to be changing, and we can't have that. So the next device I'm actually going to quickly put in here is the CV8x4. And I'm going to take that out and put it into my note. And I'm going to set this, I think it's around about 60, somewhere like there. So if I now play a key again. So this is now playing the note. So if I push this up. So it doesn't matter what keys I'm playing now, it's always going to play the same key for me. You may think at this stage it might be good to go and grab something like the Janitor. Well, it isn't a bad idea. Well, we're going to grab ourselves a Janitor, and then we're going to put the note through there, and then take the gate into here, and we're going to lag it with some delay. But there's a little problem. The way that this will, well, here you go, let's just hear it. So after I play my key, let go, you get this lovely glitchy effect as the gate's coming down, and it's like being re-triggered on this. So it doesn't work. So we need a solid signal into here. So we can grab our A&B switch, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have that on full and this on 0. This is a little bit like we did before. So I'm going to have a full signal going into A, and into B we're going to have a 0. Then that's going to go into my gate data. So I can now turn this drum machine on and off using the A&B switch. So we need to now control this CV. Now at the moment, let's grab that minus. So we've inverted the gate signal, and we should better put that into there. And if we turn this up now, theoretically, when I press a key, and I let go, it carries on playing. And obviously we can turn the decay down. If it's still going down, you can see it just going down here. So we can do it quickly. We can have it running for a while, and that's simply how I've kicked off this actual drum machine. Obviously, you can use these CV signals to kick off other drum machines as well. But hey, there we go, nice and simple. So we've got over a couple of uses of this A&B switch. As I say, the little sneaky one I like to use it for is if we take out one of these inputs. So you can do it the opposite way around. So if I had a signal going into B and there was nothing connected to A, when we flip it to A, it's going to output exactly what B last outputted. Sorry, so the output would be there. But yeah, it seems like a very simple little switch, but it's a very, very handy little switch. Obviously combined with things like the Janitor and the CV8x4. You know, these are 3 of my big CV devices I'm using all the time. And the great thing is they're all free as well. Anyway, it's been a bit of a long video, and I've waffled as usual, but I'm going to say thank you for watching, and bye for now.